welcome to Get Excited, It's the News, a show where I, someone who just yesterday used a butter knife as a screwdriver, explains the news to you. Good luck to us all. But let's get into it. Let's talk about the week, starting with the deep dive. The House of Representatives voted to remove Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene from her 2 House committees on Thursday. So let's talk about it. But first, let me say this. I'm sure there are some people watching who think that this was wrong. That's not the point of this segment. I'm not trying to convince you either way. The purpose of this segment is just to explain the whole story. Now, I have strong opinions on this and her, but I'm leaving those out in service of delivering just the facts here. Okay, so why did this happen? Marjorie Taylor Greene was elected to represent Northwest Georgia in November. At the time, she was a known Q believer. Now, these deep dives are only supposed to be a few minutes long, so I'm not going to go too far into QAnon right now. I'm actually planning on doing a special edition of Get Excited that explains it a little bit further. But the basic overview is that it's a conspiracy theory, a core falsehood of it being a group of Satan-worshipping elites who run a child sex ring are trying to control our politics and media. And she's also continued to spread the lie that Trump won the 2020 presidential election, including in a December 14th tweet where she claimed, without the widespread voter fraud, out-of-state voters, mail-in ballots from dead people, and discovery of hidden ballots, we all know that President Trump wins our state in a landslide. Now, this is patently false, as well as confusing, because she won her seat on the House on the same ballot as Trump. It's unclear how she believes that the so-called fraud only occurred at the top of the ticket. Now, since her election, problematic videos and social media activity have come to light, including questioning whether 9/11 actually happened, calling the Vegas and Parkland massacres false flags, accusing Representatives Tlaib and Omar of not being legitimate Congress members because they were sworn in on the Quran, and suggesting that the Charlottesville white nationalist rally was an inside job. Now, her beliefs have drawn comments from both sides of the aisle, as even Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell called them, quote, a cancer for the Republican Party. So this brings us to Thursday, where the House voted 219 to 199 to strip her of her committees. The list of those voting in favor includes 11 Republicans. The House resolution that brought these consequences said that the House rules require lawmakers' ability to, quote, reflect credibility, and that Greene should be removed, quote, in light of the conduct she has exhibited. What does this mean? Well, essentially, she's now just a vote in Congress. She's not part of crafting the legislation. Now, you may remember that this was also done in 2019 when Steve King was removed from Judiciary and Agricultural committees for his comments made to the New York Times asking why white supremacy is considered offensive. Prior to Thursday, she was on both the House Budget Committee as well as the Education and Labor Committee, seen by many as particularly vital to remove her from, given her egregious belief that the Parkland and Newtown shootings were fake. Now, there are a couple things that can happen as well. She can be censured, which I would not surprise to see happen in the future if her behavior and her vocalized, or social media-ized, beliefs don't change. Now, censure is basically just a formal statement of disapproval. But again, just like impeachment in the House, just because it doesn't do one specific thing, a censure is not something that just gets thrown around all willy-nilly. To date, only 23 members have been censured, with the most recent time happening in 2010. However, Representative Jimmy Gomez of California thinks that's not enough and wrote an op-ed for NBC News in which he said he believes she should be expelled. Now, a censure only requires a majority vote in the House. Once the House approves the censure, the censured member must stand in the well of the House while the Speaker reads the resolution and its preamble, which is probably, so embarrassing. Expulsion is harder, though, and given the state of partisan politics, there's almost no way it would happen. Expulsion requires a 2/3 vote in the House and would expel the member immediately. Now, this has only happened 5 times in history, 3 of which happened in 1861 for disloyalty to the Union. So there we go. I would imagine this isn't the end of the story, and if so, you're not going to be the smartest person in your group text. All right, other headlines. Smartmartic has filed a $1.2 billion defamation lawsuit against Fox News, as well as 3 hosts and frequent guests Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell. Smartmatic's chief executive released a statement claiming, quote, Fox is responsible for this disinformation campaign, which has damaged democracy worldwide and irreparably harmed Smartmatic and other stakeholders who contribute to modern elections. Smartmatic identified over 100 false statements and accusations about the company that was made on Fox's programs. In a major step towards helping Los Angeles' growing homeless population, the first tiny home community has opened, which provides 40 tiny homes and 75 beds. Each 64 square foot home has heating, air conditioning, windows, a small desk, and a locking door. The Chandler Street Tiny Home Village is operated by the nonprofit Hope of the Valley and plans to open another village in North Hollywood as well. The goal being to offer safety and security while Hope of the Valley works with residents to prepare them for the job market, as well as making sure they have an ID and social security card, creating a budget, and working around disabilities or immigration status. Homelessness continues to rise in Los Angeles. The latest count was done in June of last year and showed a 12.7 increase in the county and a 14.2 increase in the city. Hope of the Valley is hoping this Housing First initiative will be able to do what LA has not yet been able to: house its residents. Los Angeles passed Measure HHH in 2016, which was meant to build 10,000 supportive housing units. For many reasons, some more complicated than others, the measure so far has only provided 62 units in one building. A group of 120 volunteers in South Florida are helping senior citizens book their COVID appointments. Catherine Quirk and her husband Russ Schwartz set up a Facebook page as a vaccination info page, but when they realized it was easier for senior citizens to call and have someone set up the appointment for them, they organized volunteers and have done just that. Currently, there are 3,000 senior citizens waiting for a volunteer to help them. And finally, if you're watching this Sunday morning, the Super Bowl is later today. Bucks versus the Chiefs, Clash of the Titans. Go sports! If you're watching this after that, wow, what a game that I certainly watched and paid attention to. Thursday is National Day of Women and Girls in Science. Over the past 2 decades, women have been more likely to receive an undergraduate degree than their male counterparts. However, despite this accomplishment, women earn degrees in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics at about half the rate of men. So spend the day learning about Marie Curie, the first female Nobel Prize recipient; Elizabeth Bragg, the first woman to earn a bachelor's degree in engineering; or Katherine Johnson, the mathematician who calculated orbital mechanics for NASA. Science. It's for ladies now, too. And finally, because the news of this week was, well, the news of this week, here's this cute dog doing this cute dog stuff.
Let it rain. Let me talk to you. Come on.
That's it. That's the news. If you like this, tell a friend. Friends love the news. And as always, you can go to kimmoffat.com/getexcited, where you'll find a transcript of this episode, as well as links to everything I talked about here. That's it. Have a great week, friends.